The silent watchers, the research station drifted in the void like a tomb, its metal hull scarred by 3 centuries of cosmic dust and radiation. Commander Veltar adjusted his breathing apparatus as he floated through the airlock, his 6 arms working the controls with practiced efficiency. The Cortex warrior had seen many derelict ships in his long career, but something about this human facility made his scales prickle with unease. "Sir, the atmosphere is still breathable," reported Lieutenant Kess, her crystalline form shimmering in the dim light. "Emergency power is holding, but barely. This place has been dead for a very long time." Veltar nodded, his yellow eyes scanning the corridor ahead. The walls were lined with human writing, those strange angular symbols that the Galactic Archive had struggled to decode after the species vanished. According to official records, humans had simply stopped responding to communications one day, their colonies going dark across the galaxy. Most believed they had destroyed themselves in some catastrophic war. "Spread out and search everything." Veltar ordered his team. "The Council wants to know what happened to the humans. This station might finally give us answers." The team moved through the facility with military precision, their boots echoing in the empty halls. Each room they entered told the same story of sudden abandonment. Meals left half-eaten, research data still displayed on screens. Personal belongings scattered as if their owners had simply vanished mid-task. Dr. Zixara, the team's historian, paused at a large window overlooking the station's main laboratory. Her tentacles writhed with excitement as she studied the equipment below. "Commander, look at this." The humans were working on something called Project Exodus. The research logs are incomplete, but it mentions preparation for a long journey. Veltar joined her at the window. Below them, massive computer banks hummed with residual power, their screens flickering with data streams that made no sense to alien eyes. "What kind of journey requires this much preparation? The kind where you never plan to come back?" Zixara replied softly. Unknown to the alien search team, they were being watched. Far beyond the station's sensor range, a sleek ship hung motionless. In space, its hull reflecting no light, casting no shadow. On its bridge, Captain Sarah Chen sat in her command chair, her brown eyes focused on the tactical display showing the Cortex vessel docked with the research station. "They're taking the bait," she said quietly to her first officer, Commander Marcus Torres, "just like we hoped they would." Marcus nodded, his weathered face showing the strain of 3 decades in hiding. "The false logs we planted should convince them we're extinct. But Sarah, are we sure this is the right time to reveal ourselves?" Sarah stood and walked to the main viewport, gazing out at the stars that had been humanity's home for millennia. "The harvesters are stirring again, Marcus. Our deep space sensors detected their first movements last month. We can't stay hidden much longer." Behind them, the bridge crew worked in silence, their movements precise and efficient. These were the children and grandchildren of the original Exodus survivors, raised in the hidden colonies beyond the galaxy's rim. They had never known a world where humans weren't considered extinct, where their species wasn't the galaxy's best-kept secret. "Captain," called Lieutenant James Park from the sensor station, "the Cortex are accessing the main database. They've found the memorial files." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the day they had recorded those false messages. The hardest part of their deception had been making the galaxy mourn for them, letting their friends and allies believe they were gone forever. But it had been necessary. The harvesters could never know that humans survived. Back on the station, Veltar stood before a massive holographic display showing the faces of thousands of humans. Their voices echoed through the chamber as the memorial program played, each one leaving a final message for any who might find them. "We knew this day would come," said a human woman with graying hair and kind eyes. "The calculations were clear. Our species cannot survive what is coming. But we hope that in our absence, the galaxy will find peace." Another voice joined in, a young man with determined features. "We chose to face our end with dignity. Our colonies will self-destruct in sequence, ensuring that nothing remains to threaten our allies. Remember us not as we were, but as we tried to be." The messages continued for hours, each one a carefully crafted lie designed to convince the galaxy that humanity had chosen extinction over endangering their friends. Veltar felt his heart grow heavy as he listened to the false testimonies of a species that had supposedly chosen to die rather than bring harm to others. "Sir," Lieutenant Kess said quietly, "I've found something else. It's buried deep in the station's core systems." She led him to a secured chamber where a single computer terminal glowed with amber light. On its screen was a star map showing the outer rim territories, areas so remote that no civilized species had ever bothered to explore them. "This is where they went," Kess said, her voice filled with wonder. "The humans didn't die, Commander. They ran. They went to the edge of everything and disappeared." Veltar studied the map, his tactical mind already working through the implications. But why? What could make an entire species abandon their homes and fake their own extinction? The answer came from an unexpected source. Deep in the stations, Archives Dr. Zixera had found encrypted files that took her team hours to decode. When the translation finally appeared on her screen, she called for the commander immediately. "Veltar, you need to see this. It's a report from human deep space explorers, dated just before their disappearance. They found something out there, something that terrified them enough to abandon everything." The report was clinical in its language, but the fear behind the words was unmistakable. Human scouts had discovered ancient structures in the void between galaxies, massive constructs that showed signs of incredible age and power. The structures were waking up, their systems coming online after eons of dormancy. They called them the Harvesters. Zixera read aloud. "Machines built by a species that died out millions of years ago. Their purpose was to consume all organic life in the galaxy, converting it to energy to power their eternal journey to the next feeding ground." Veltar felt ice in his veins, and the humans discovered this. More than discovered, they calculated that the Harvesters would fully awaken within 300 years. The humans realized they couldn't fight them, not with the technology available then. So they chose to hide, to fake their extinction and spend centuries preparing for the real war. The implications hit Veltar like a physical blow. If this was true, then humanity wasn't extinct at all. They were out there somewhere, building weapons and ships in secret, preparing for a war that no one else knew was coming. "Commander," came a voice from the station's communication system. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the human vessel Persistence. I believe it's time we talked." Veltar spun around, his weapon automatically drawn. The voice had come from everywhere, at once, as if the station itself was speaking. "Do not be alarmed, Commander. My ship is cloaked nearby. We've been monitoring your investigation, and we've decided that the time for secrets has passed. The Harvesters are stirring earlier than we anticipated. War is coming, and we need allies." On the main display, the image of a human woman appeared. She was younger than Veltar had expected, but her eyes held the weight of someone who had carried terrible knowledge for far too long. "You're alive," Veltar said, his voice barely a whisper. We're all alive, Commander. Every human who supposedly died 3 centuries ago has descendants living in our hidden colonies. We've spent 300 years preparing for this moment, building weapons and ships that the galaxy has never seen. But we can't fight the harvesters alone. The awakening storm, the emergency council session on Nexus Prime, was unlike any in the Galactic Alliance's history. Representatives from dozens of species filled the great chamber, their voices creating a chaotic symphony of fear and disbelief. At the center of it all stood Captain Sarah Chen, the first human to address the galactic government in 3 centuries. "The harvesters are not a myth," Sarah said, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. "They are real, they are ancient, and they are coming." President Koloth of the Zilonians raised his massive head, his tusks gleaming in the chamber's light. "Even if we believe that your species has been hiding for 300 years, why should we trust you now? You deceived us all." Sarah had expected this reaction. The revelation that humanity had faked its extinction had shaken the galaxy's foundations. Trust, once broken, was not easily repaired. "Because," she said, activating a holographic display, "this is what happens when the harvesters arrive." The chamber fell silent as images filled the air above them. Dead worlds, their surfaces stripped bare of all organic matter. Massive mechanical ships, each one larger than a moon, drifting through space like hungry predators. And at the center of it all, a construct so vast it dwarfed entire star systems. "This is Kepler-4 for to be," Sarah continued. "The harvesters tested their systems there 6 months ago. The planet supported 12 billion sentient beings. Now it's a lifeless rock, completely stripped of its biosphere." Ambassador Vexana of the Christek Collective leaned forward, her crystalline form refracting the light into rainbow patterns. "You have proof of this." "I have survivors," Sarah replied. "Commander, bring them in." The chamber's doors opened and a group of beings entered. They were refugees from Kepler-4 to be, their bodies bearing the scars of their ordeal. Their leader, a Galaxian named Morden, stepped forward on shaking legs. "They came from the void," Morden said, his voice breaking. "Ships the size of cities, machines that consumed everything in their path. We had no warning, no time to prepare. In 3 days, our entire civilization was gone." The chamber erupted in panicked discussions. Some representatives demanded proof. Others began calculating evacuation routes for their homeworlds. But Sarah raised her hand for silence. "The harvesters are not random destroyers," she said. "They follow a pattern, a schedule that we've spent centuries trying to understand. They harvest one galaxy, then move to the next, leaving nothing but empty space behind them. Our galaxy is next on their list." Commander Velter, who had remained silent throughout the session, finally spoke. "If humanity has been preparing for this war for 3 centuries, what exactly have you built?" Sarah smiled grimly. "Commander Torres, initiate Project Revelation." High above the planet, space itself seemed to ripple. One by one, massive ships began to materialize, their hulls shimmering as cloaking fields disengaged. The assembled representatives watched in awe as the human fleet revealed itself. "We call them Guardian-class vessels," Sarah explained. "Each one is equipped with weapons and shields that incorporate technology we've developed over 3 centuries of preparation, but more importantly, they're crewed by humans who have known their entire lives that this war was coming. The ships were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Their hulls were a deep black that seemed to absorb light, and their designs were both elegant and menacing. Energy signatures, unlike anything in the Alliance's databases, pulsed from their weapon systems. Impressive, admitted chancellors of the Mantid hierarchy. But what do you want from us? Alliance, Sarah said simply. The harvesters are not just humanity's enemy. They're coming for all of us. We need your industrial capacity, your soldiers, your world's resources. Together, we might have a chance. Separately, we'll all die. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some species wanted to retreat to the outer rim, hoping to avoid the coming storm. Others advocated for immediate military action, but gradually a consensus began to emerge. The human proposal has merit, President Collard H. finally said, but we need guarantees. How do we know you won't abandon us again when the fighting gets difficult? Sarah stood and removed a small device from her uniform. This is a quantum communicator linked to every human colony and ship. I'm giving you direct access to our command structure. You'll know everything we know, see everything we see. No more secrets. She placed the device on the council table, where it immediately began displaying real-time data from human operations across the galaxy. The gesture was unprecedented, a complete sharing of military intelligence. There's something else, Sarah continued. Our deep space sensors have detected the Harvester Advance Fleet. They're moving faster than our calculations predicted. We have 6 months, maybe less, before they reach the outer colonies. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. 6 months to prepare for a war against an enemy that had consumed countless galaxies. 6 months to forge an alliance between species that had never truly worked together. What do you need? Asked Ambassador Vexana. Everything, Sarah replied. We need your shipbuilders working around the clock. We need your soldiers training with our weapons. We need your scientists collaborating with ours. And most importantly, we need your trust. Over the following days, the transformation was remarkable. Human engineers worked alongside alien designers, creating hybrid vessels that combined the best of both technologies. Training facilities across the galaxy buzzed with activity as soldiers from dozens of species learned to fight together, but the most significant change was in the humans themselves. After 3 centuries of hiding, they were finally home. Captain Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of her ship as human families began returning to their ancestral worlds. Tears streaming down their faces as they saw skies they had only heard about in stories. It's beautiful, said Commander Torres, joining her at the viewport. I never thought I'd see Earth again. Sarah nodded, but her expression remained troubled. The harvesters will target Earth first. They always go for the homeworlds. We need to be ready. We will be, Marcus assured her. The Alliance fleet is the largest in galactic history. We have weapons that can crack planets and shields that can withstand stellar energy. We're ready for war. Are we ready for the cost? Sarah asked quietly. The harvesters don't just destroy ships and cities. They harvest the crews, converting organic matter into energy. Every battle we fight, we're not just risking defeat. We're risking the complete extinction of our species. Before Marcus could answer, the ship's alarms began to sound. Lieutenant Park's voice crackled over the intercom. Captain, we're receiving emergency transmissions from the Kepler system. Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures approaching from deep space. Sarah and Marcus rushed to the bridge, where the main display showed a sight that chilled them to the bone. The Harvester Advance Fleet was larger than anticipated. Hundreds of massive ships moving in perfect formation toward the galaxy's edge. They're early, Sarah whispered. "They're 3 months early." "Captain," came a transmission from the Alliance Command Center. "All fleet commanders report to Nexus Prime immediately. The war has begun." As the human ship changed course toward the Alliance capital, Sarah looked out at the stars one last time. Somewhere out there, the harvesters were coming. The galaxy's greatest test was about to begin, and humanity would finally have to prove that their 3 centuries of preparation had been worth the sacrifice. The age of hiding was over. The age of war had begun. Asterisk.